Hello, my name is Mrs. Howard, and I'm going to be reading you a book called The Twits. It's by Roald Dahl, and all of the publishing could go, all publishing, the rights, everything, anything having to do with money, anything like that, needs to go to whoever is in charge of publishing that, Roald Dahl's family, whatever. I'm not trying to make money off of this. I am simply trying to educate people, teach a class. So we're going to begin with an introduction. The Twits starts off with, can you say that? Yes, you can. Awesome sauce. But it's backwards. Nice. Anyways, I'm going to mostly show you the picture. You see it says hairy faces. Excuse my hand. I'm a lefty, and therefore everything gets... Anyways, it has a very good illustration of hairy faces. Let me see. Okay. There they are. I'm going to read it now. What a lot of hairy-faced men there are around nowadays. When a man grows hair all over his face, it's impossible to tell what he really looks like. Perhaps that's why he does it. He'd rather you didn't know. I assume you didn't know what he looked like. Okay. Then there's the problem of washing. When the very hairy ones wash their face, it must be a job as when you and I wash the hair on our head. So what I want to know is this. How often do all these hairy-faced men wash their faces? Is it only once a week, like us, on Sunday nights? And do they shampoo it? Do they use a hairdryer? Do they rub hair tonic, which is like a shampoo, in to stop their faces from going bald? Or maybe it's like the oil that sometimes people put in so that they don't get the mange all over their face. Anyways, do they go to a barber to have their hairy faces cut and trimmed? Or do they do it themselves in front of the bathroom mirror with nail scissors? Well, that would take forever. I don't know. But next time you see a man with a hairy face, which will probably be as soon as you step out onto the street, maybe we'll look at him more closely and start wondering about some of these things. Now, that's the first chapter, or kind of like soliloquy at the beginning of this book, The Twits. It's introducing us to the idea of hairy faces. You'll find out later as we meet our characters that one of these characters has a very hairy face. This one doesn't show the introduction of characters like the other book I have of this. So, but anyways, the next chapter is called Mr. Twit. Look what he has. A very hairy face. You read to you about Mr. Twit. Mr. Twit was one of these very hairy-faced men. The whole of his face, except for his forehead, his eyes, and his nose, was covered with thick hair. The stuff even sprouted in revolting tufts out of his nostrils and ear holes. Mr. Twit felt that this hairiness made him look terrifically wise and grand. But in truth, he was neither of these things. Mr. Twit was a twit, which means not very smart, not very intelligent, not very wise thinking. Let's keep reading. Mr. Twit was a twit. He was born a twit, and now at the age of 60, he was a bigger twit than ever. The hair on Mr. Twit's face didn't grow smooth and matted down as most hairy-faced men. It grew out in spikes that stuck out like bristles of a nail brush. And how often did Mr. Twit wash his bristly nail brushy face of his? The answer is never. Not even on Sundays. He hadn't washed it for years. And so now we've met Mr. Twit, who is a twit, which I said is kind of like an idiot, not a very smart person, not a person you want to be around. And he has a very hairy face, but his beard doesn't look like regular men's faces who have beards. His beard looks like a crazy porcupine. And even worse about his is that he does not wash it. Not even on Sundays, which I guess was a thing back when this book was published in the... When was this book published? We should go back to the front and see. So if I scroll back, this is an online book, I know. This book was first published in 1981. That's pretty cool. That's the year I was born. Oh, and the illustrations were made in 1980. So, apparently, back in the 80s, 38 years ago, they used to only bathe on Sundays. It's very interesting. Okay, well, I'm sure that not everybody did. Probably just the people who have trouble with access to water or don't get very sweaty, maybe? I don't know. Anyways, so that's the first chapter, and we've talked about hairy-faced men and the main character of Mr. Twit. Thank you.